Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Date Yourself Instead. Apologies in advance. They're doing construction in my building, and it's so fucking loud, and it's really annoying. So if you hear loud banging throughout the podcast, I sincerely apologize. I've been trying to record this episode for the last 3 days, and the construction won't fucking stop, and I don't know what to do here. So I apologize if this is a little distracting. It sounds so far so good right now. Maybe I'll be really lucky and all of the construction workers, maybe they just took a break or something because it's quiet now. Okay, well, today's episode is going to be about manifesting your soulmate using the technique that I've used to attract literally, I think I've done this 3 times. But this method is going to be used to attract anything you want into your life. It could be a soulmate, it could be a specific person, but it could also be anything, like really any circumstance or situation that you want in your life. I have done this several times, and every single time it's worked, and it hasn't worked instantly. I'm going to be completely transparent. It hasn't worked instantly every time, but that's because the times that I was having a lot of internal stress and a lot of resistance, it kind of prevented me from manifesting it faster. And I think the number one thing I want to emphasize is if you are going to do this technique, you need to be in a really positive and excited mental state. It doesn't mean you can't attract things in your life if you're depressed or if you're not feeling your best self. Of course you can, but it happens a lot faster when you're in a really excited, positive state and you actually believe that it's going to happen for you. It always happens way faster when you really believe that it's happening. So just keep that in mind when you are listening to this, and if you decide to do this technique, if you decide to manifest this specific situation and you are not in the best mood, I suggest waiting until you're in a better state of mind in order to write this out and do what I'm about to tell you to do, because it is super powerful. I know it might sound a little weird and it might sound like you're a fucking stalker and a creep, but I promise you it really works. And I've told multiple people to do this also, and the feedback I got in my DMs, people are sending me pictures of their new boyfriends and happy relationships and things that they've wanted by using this technique. Now, I touched on this technique briefly also in my How to Manifest Your Soulmate episode, but I really wanted to dedicate a full episode to the details of how to do this because some people were still asking me questions and a little bit confused, and there was a lot of mixed feedback, but most of it was positive. So I want to circle back and make it more detailed and easier for everyone to understand, and I'm going to break it down step by step for you. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is go to the store and buy a card that you would buy for a significant other, or buy a card that's relevant to what you're trying to manifest. So, for example, if you're trying to manifest your soulmate, you want to buy an anniversary card or buy a card that you would actually give to someone that was the love of your life. I'll give you an example. So I have this letter that I wrote out to a specific person, and this is a letter that I'll show you the card. Actually, that might just be easier because now we got the video component, so you'll be able to see. So I bought this card that says happy you exist. Now this could be very generic. So this could be a best friend. This could be, someone you want to be best friends with. This could be, I don't know, anyone you want, right? It's a very generic card. Hold on, there's construction going on, so I wanted to make sure there was silence. I bought this because it's a little bit generic, but at the same time, this is something I would give someone that I was dating or in a relationship with, because I'm happy that they exist, and I'd be very happy if they existed. So I think it's kind of like manifesting that into my life, like knowing that they exist. That's why I picked this card in particular. So that's just an example, but you could literally buy any card that you would give to a significant other. Now, after you do that, I want you to get into a really excited mental state. When you go home and you're by yourself and you have some alone time, I suggest being fully alone for this and having some time to yourself. So if you have roommates or you're living with your parents or whatever it is, I would recommend going into a room where you know you're not going to be distracted and you're not going to be, discouraged by people saying, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you writing a card to someone that doesn't exist? Like, don't tell anyone that you're doing this. Don't tell anyone that you're writing this letter, because I think it just interrupts your flow and your energy. And when you're trying to manifest things, I always tell people the best thing you could do is to just keep it to yourself, because you know you the best, right? You know your power and you know your inner worth. And I feel like people always have opinions and they'll always have something negative to say if you say something that's a little bit like witchy, or something that's a little bit too woo-woo for some people. They might have a comment that can affect your own beliefs, and it's happened to me before. So I just tell people, try to keep this to yourself, and you're doing this for you and this is for you. So just get into a quiet place where you're going to be alone for at least an hour, and I want you to do whatever you can to make sure you're in a calm mental state, and a mental state filled with peace and trust. Just trust that what you're about to do is going to attract whatever it is that you're writing about. You're going to attract it. You really have to believe it and set that mentality in your head. And I always like doing this when I'm just by myself, because it allows me to do this with a clear mind, with no distractions. You get the point. So once you've settled into that mental state and you're like, this is what I'm about to do, I know that it's coming, I trust that it's coming, and everything is working out for me. The universe has my best interest at heart, and I am going to attract whatever it is that you're about to write about. Just make sure you're in that really positive, good, healthy mental state before you start this. And if you're not, do it a different day. It doesn't mean you can't have a bad day or a bad month, but I just recommend doing this when you're in that mental state, because it happens a lot faster. So now that I've set up the whole scene for you, I want you to write a letter to this person, or, the situation. I want you to write it as if it's already happened. So for example, in this letter that I just showed you guys, I wrote, "Dear, the love of my life." When I used this method before, I used it about 3 years ago to attract a man into my life, because I was single for a year and I was tired of being single and I wanted to be in a relationship again, and I missed that feeling of being in love. So I wrote the letter by saying, "To the love of my life, I love you so much. I love how much fun we have together. I love traveling with you. I love experiencing life with you. You're the best partner. You're such a good boyfriend to me," etc., etc., etc. So you're writing this letter as if this person is already a part of your life and this person already exists as your significant other. And you could also apply this to other situations too. So if you want, you could write it. If you want, to attract a brand deal or a business partner or a new friendship, whatever it is that you're trying to work towards, a new job, a new career, anything really, you have to write a letter to the universe or whoever you're trying to manifest as if they're already a part of your life. So for example, when I was doing it for business and I wanted this specific brand partnership, I wrote a letter to the people that were managing the brand. And this sounds so weird, but it really works, I swear. I wrote a letter out saying, "Thank you so much for the work opportunity and the brand deal, and I'm so appreciative and I'm so thankful that I got this opportunity." And then I, signed like, "Thank you so much, all the best," whatever. So I wrote a letter out as if the brand deal had already happened. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to create the situation in your mind as if it's already happened, because that's what the art of manifestation is about. You have to get into that mental state of everything is already working out for you instead of trying to make things work out for you. So if this is for a soulmate that you're trying to attract, you want to write the letter as if this person is already a part of your life. So you're going to say, "To the love of my life, I love you. I love all the memories we create together," etc., etc. And if you want to get specific on what you want to do with this person, that's totally fine. It's up to you what you write. And I would leave out physical descriptions, because I just believe if you're looking for a soulmate to connect on a soul level, it matters what their soul looks like and not what they actually look like. And I feel like when I've done this, I've never included physical descriptions, and I've always attracted people whose soul I connected with the most versus just like a shallow, superficial connection. Like, oh, he's 6'3" and he has a six-pack. Like, that's not really gonna work anymore, okay? If you want to hook up, if you want a situationship, whatever it is, then you could include physical descriptions. But I feel like when you do that, it's just not really necessary to include physical descriptions, in my opinion. I just feel like it can deter you away from the whole point of attracting a soulmate, because a soulmate, you're in love with their soul, you know? But they could also be attractive. It doesn't mean you're not going to be physically attracted to the person you end up with. That's just how I see things. So when I did this exercise, I did not include any physical descriptions, and I met someone that wasn't my physical type at all, but it was the deepest, most emotional connection I've ever had with someone. So do with that what you will. And then after you're done writing the letter and you sign it, I love you. For me, I wrote, I love you, Alyssa, whatever. Then you put it in the envelope that you bought it with, and you seal it. You write out you write on the envelope, whatever it is, whatever you want to write on the envelope, as if you were actually really going to give it to someone. And then for me, I put it in my backpack and I forgot about it. At the time, I had a bag that I carried around with me everywhere, and I left the card in my bag, but I let it go. I forgot about it. This is one of the most important steps of all. So once you're done with this exercise, I want you to literally forget about what you just did. And I know that sounds super weird, but the whole point is to live your life as if this person is already there with you, right? So you wouldn't be desperately waiting around and begging the universe if that person was already a part of your life, or if that situation was already happening, right? So what you want to do is forget about it. Forget that you did this exercise. And you could put the card in a drawer. You could put the card anywhere where you're not actively seeing it every day, because I think if you're harping on it and you're grasping to it and you're attaching yourself to the outcome, that's when it creates a lot of resistance. So you really just want to forget that you wrote it. Live your life to the absolute fucking fullest. Live your life as if this person is already a part of your life. Act and wake up every day as if this person is next to you. When you trust and you put your faith in the universe and you put your faith in whatever higher power you believe in, and you believe that it's already happening for you, that's when all these miracles start to happen. And it really is like magic. I've done this exercise numerous times, as I mentioned, and it always ends up working somehow in some form or another. One time it did take 6 months, but the timing of it was so crazy, because when I wrote the original letter, I wasn't ready for a relationship, even though I thought I was. I was so desperate to find someone, but that's when you're not ready, because that means that you're not in love with yourself the way that you need to be. When you truly are so focused on yourself and you're not actively looking for another person, that's when they come into your life, because you feel whole and you feel complete. At the time that I wrote this letter, I was begging the world for a boyfriend, and I wasn't focused on myself, and I was off balance, and I wasn't in alignment with who I truly was. I wasn't honoring who I was. I was waking up and looking for a boyfriend every day. And I always tell people, the less you look for something, the more it's going to attract towards you, because when you're feeling whole and you're feeling complete, that's when miracles start to happen. So I do want you to forget about what you just did. I want you to put the letter away wherever you could put it away. I mean, put it in a place. You don't have to bury it in your backyard, but just put it away and carry on with your life and live your life, and try not to think too much into it. It's always when you don't really think about things, and it's always when you kind of detach and let go and forget about it, that's when you manifest the most. And it's so true. It happens every time. I'm going to tell you another true story that happened to me fairly recently, which was so crazy. I wanted to work with this specific person, and I had my eye on this specific person for a few months because I really liked his work and I really wanted to work with him. And I wrote in my phone notes. So technically you can actually use your iPhone notes if it's really annoying for you to go out and buy a letter, but I just believe the physical letter is so sentimental and so special. And the beauty of it is you could actually give it to the person once it happens for you, you know? So like when I wrote it to my soulmate, when I wrote my soulmate letter, I actually ended up giving that letter to the person because it was a perfect description of who they were. which is so fucking crazy. But oh my God, what tangent? I feel like I just went off on a tangent. What was I about to say? I really wanted to work with this guy, okay? And he didn't know who I was, had no idea who I was, and I've never spoken to him in person before, so it was basically like I was just thinking about it, but I wasn't really harping on it. I wasn't really stressing about it. I didn't really care that much, but it was on my mind and it crossed my mind a few times. So I wrote in my phone notes a letter out to him that I wanted to send him as a DM on Instagram. I wanted to message him and see if he had any interest in working together. And I never sent the message. I had it in my notes and then I just saved it as a draft, and I never sent the message. I never sent the DM, and I kind of just carried on with my life. And I mean, it was only a week. It was literally only a week, and this person messages me first. I swear to God. And he had never heard of me before. He had never seen me before. And we had a conversation, and he told me that he found me through a mutual friend and he was interested in working with me. And I was like, holy fucking shit, because a week ago I wrote a letter in my drafts to him, and I didn't even tell him this because I didn't want to look like a stalker, weirdo, creep, but it's just another example of how powerful manifestation really is, and how powerful it is once you really trust and you don't think too much into it, and you're not obsessed with an idea, or you're not attached to a certain outcome. You're just kind of like going with the flow and really just trusting that everything is going to work out exactly how it's supposed to, and that the universe will connect you with the right people. The universe will connect you with the people that are supposed to be in your life, and connect you with the experiences and circumstances and situations that are supposed to be a part of your life. So I thought that was really cool. And yeah, I mean, I would love to hear if you decide to try this method out. I would love to hear if you decide to do this and if it's worked for you. And if you have any feedback, you could always message me on Instagram at Lyss, Lyss, or on the podcast account at Date Yourself Instead. I would love to hear if this method has worked for you. I know I have spoken about it briefly before, but I hope that was more clear and more detailed for you guys, so you could really do it and you could really, take the initiative to manifest whatever it is that you're trying to attract into your life. I hope that was helpful. And yeah, I'm super appreciative for all the love on the podcast as always so far. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube and you have not listened to the podcast yet, the podcast is called Date Yourself Instead, and you can find it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And now I'm going to be posting more episodes on YouTube as well. So it's super exciting. And if you guys haven't rated the podcast yet, it would be so appreciated on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world to me. And if you like this video, always feel free to share it with a friend or a significant other or anyone or family, your mom, anyone that you feel would resonate with this content. It would be so appreciated. I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening as always, and stay tuned for the next episode.